everyone. Welcome back. It's Charlotte from At Charlotte's House. This is episode 7 of my Flip House series. This week is going to be a little bit wild, so buckle up. I suspect I say this every week, but I really oscillate between feeling like I am moving, I am grooving, I am making progress in this house, and looking around and realizing how much more there is to go. And that is sort of a weird feeling to have. So I'm just trying to keep my blinders on and just keep it one project at a time. And today my project is prepping this bathroom for my contractor. So let's step into this tiny little space so I can talk you through it. As is pretty typical for a lot of the houses in this neighborhood, this is the only bathroom upstairs. So we needed to work for 1, 2, maybe even 3 or 4 people because there are 3 bedrooms up here. It is not my favorite bathroom on the planet, but I am trying to make it look a lot nicer without having to gut the whole thing, which would be upwards of $50,000, $60,000. So here's what the plan is, because I don't want to spend $50,000 or $60,000. Obviously, the biggest issue in this bathroom is the distance between the toilet and the vanity, which is like not enough for anyone taller than 5'9". So what we are gonna do is we are gonna remove that vanity and open up this wall right here. And so there will now be a niche. So the bathroom will be shaped like an L, and that niche will have enough room for a slightly larger vanity. And let's step next door. What is exciting about this is that the wall will come all the way out to here. You can see the contractors taped it off. So we will be able to use the existing shelving that is in this part of the space where there is an angled wall. So that shelving will be used in the bathroom. And right now there is no storage in there. So picture this wall. Here, let's back you up. This wall is gonna go away. There's gonna be a vanity here, and this is gonna be part of the bathroom. This room in here is gonna get a little bit smaller, but I think we will create some shelves in this space. There's enough room for a little desk. It could be a little nursery. It's just a nice little quiet space at the end of the hall that the next homeowner can do what they want with. I also plan to remove the tiles on the wall, remove the wallpaper. That medicine cabinet will obviously go away because that wall is going away. That light will go away because that wall's going away. We'll take away the window treatment, repaint the trim, and replace the floor. So this is a very cosmetic makeover once you get past this wall that my contractor is gonna help with. Today, my plan is to get the vanity out of the way and then start on the wall tile. I don't think I will have time to get to the floor tile, but I wanna make it a little bit easier for him to move through that wall. So that's what I'm gonna do right now.
Let's get started removing this vanity. Obviously, I need to remove the door. Otherwise, there is no space for me to work. Now I am digging around under there, trying to turn off the water lines so that I can pull the vanity away.
One of the dilemmas with this vanity project is that the water comes in from the floor and the drain goes out through the wall. And so moving the vanity is a little bit easier said than done, but we're hoping that because the vanity is still gonna be against the back wall, that we can route that drain. And I think moving the water lines in the floor, I don't know. That's a problem for the plumber, but it has to be done. So what I am starting with is I am turning off the water, and then I will disconnect this water line so that I can move the vanity out of the way.
And this is when I realized that Houston, we have a problem. Do you see how that faucet is still dripping water? That tells me that the shutoff valve isn't working, and that is a problem because I cannot remove the vanity unless the water is turned off. So I'm taking a break, I'm moving on to something else, I'm standing up and I'm gonna tackle this medicine cabinet. Thankfully, this came out super easily. I was just able to unscrew the cabinet itself, and then this is the frame that is also just screwed into the studs in the wall. So this was a nice little brain break from the issue that is the plumbing below. This is the first time I'm taking a crowbar to the tile, and it's not coming off super easily at all. In fact, it doesn't appear to be budging, which is frustrating. So we're taking another brain break. for pulling off wallpaper because that is something I can figure out. This is the face of a woman who is real frustrated. Oh yeah, let's take off the curtain. We're looking for easy wins here, guys. There is so much weird curtain hardware on these windowsills. Took that off. This is one of those ceramic towel racks that is just right in the tile, so I was able to slam into that for a little bit. And here you can see the main problem. Every time I go to remove the tile, my crowbar is going into the drywall, which is just not what I want. So I'm trying a different crowbar. It's still just super frustrating, but I'm persevering and smacking at the wall. That didn't work either. There's just a lot of time spent standing and trying to figure this out. That is a drywall saw. For a minute, I thought maybe I just need to cut off the drywall. Lots of thinking. And ultimately, I just went back to a crowbar and a hammer. And what I learned is that the tile that was sitting on the drywall was a lot harder to remove than the tile that was sitting on the plaster. You can see the lath right there. So under the lath is plaster, above the lath is where the drywall was. Thankfully, once I got below the drywall and I'm on the plaster part, it is coming down so much easier, which I needed. I needed a win. It's definitely pulling away some of the drywall, but I know we're gonna have to fix that later. Out comes that dated light. I actually don't hate it, but that's obviously not gonna be where the light is. I'm feeling better. I feel like maybe I just regrouped and had a candy or something. So now it's time to clean up. The only frustrating thing that I am not showing you is that our dumpster has been taken away. They needed it for a couple of weeks. So all these tiles are just in plastic bags in the other room. I'm removing all the handles. The previous residents were seniors, so they needed a little support. Curtain rod. I'm removing all the things that are easy to remove before I go back to the dilemma that is the vanity.
I've made some really good progress, and here's the dilemma I'm at right now. Come with me. So typically, these water lines under a sink, you can see there's a handle here and here, and typically you turn those righty-tighty and it shuts off the water line so that then I can remove it and get the vanity out of the way. Unfortunately, and this has happened with some of our older plumbing, this nozzle, there must be a washer that is not quite right. So when I turn it all the way off, there is still a little bit of water coming out, which means that if I were to try and disconnect, I would be spraying water. So I am trying to disconnect the vanity enough that I can get the tiles out of the way. And I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut this pipe. I don't have my bigger wrench, so I can't twist it off, but the plumber will replace this piece anyway. So I'm gonna cut this U-trap and then I can at least pull it away from the wall, and I will not disconnect the water line, but the vanity can just come away enough that I can remove those tiles.
Please enjoy this super helpful clip of me cutting through the PVC pipe. Yeah, you're welcome. Cinematography at its best. I was able to pry the vanity loose with my crowbar. The vanity came away from the wall pretty easily, and then I gave the counter itself a little tap so I could pull that up and off the vanity base. And you can see the vanity itself just fell apart. This thing is so cheap and old. And so I'm just leaving the sink on the ground. The water lines are still attached. I was able to pull it up and over the P-trap, so the sink is just there and I can keep demoing the tiles all around it. I will wait for my contractor and his plumber to come and figure out those water lines, but for now, I'm continuing on with my demo. Out comes the toilet so I can remove the flooring below it. My hands are super dirty as it is, so don't worry about sticking my hand in that clean toilet. This wallpaper, thankfully, is coming off so easily. I removed that top layer and then I'm spraying the bottom layer, which is just paper, so once it's saturated, it comes loose super easily. After removing so much wallpaper, I feel like I have a real system in place, and this is about as easy as it gets. You can go back and watch my whole wallpaper video if you want to know the different things I learned about wallpaper in an old house. And here she is, basically all demoed and ready for the contractor. That floor is probably gonna come out eventually. You can see that the tile took away the drywall that was there. There's no question that we're gonna have to do some patching, but fixing drywall is the least of my worries. We have bigger fish to fry.
I am back in the bathroom, and boy, do I have an update. My contractor was here while I was away on a trip, and he has opened up this wall into the room next door, so now you get a better sense of what is happening in here. Vanity is gonna sit right there. It opens up this space so much. So I'm back today to demo the floor. But look at this. This way, this bathroom is gonna have all of that shelving over there. We will frame back up here so that that room at the back of the house is a little bit smaller, but it's still plenty big enough to be a little bit of a nursery nook. It can be a little work nook. All I need to fix is the floor. Obviously, it would be great if I could just find these tiles again. I cannot. So I'm gonna pull these tiles up, and then we'll put down the plywood and match them all the way across the surface. So a little more demo.
The tile itself actually came away from the plywood underneath really easily. I moved through it and I was feeling cautiously optimistic. I should have known better. It turns out that this floor took me the rest of the day and it was so hot and sweaty, but just enjoy this tile coming away where I was still naive and optimistic.
Next step is to clear out all the tile and then see if I can get this mortar up. If I can't, I think I can just remove the plywood. I just need to see.
Spoiler alert, I did not set my camera up for the next phase of this, so you're gonna have a real juicy jump cut coming up. This is just me cleaning up, but the next step was painful. Essentially, I'm trying to chip away at the mortar, which didn't work, and then I'm trying to peel up the plywood, which didn't work, so I had to go fishing around for every single screw, and that took forever.
This was brutal. And I didn't get video of the subfloor removal because I don't know if I was doing it right, but I was able to unscrew / chip away at the mortar / break apart the plywood. So now this is all the same height and I can go ahead and tile.
There's no question that this subfloor is asbestos, so I am leaving that in place, and then we will float the next layer of subfloor over it. I actually think that we will maybe just go right into the concrete backer board. We're gonna cut out a groove for those water lines so that we can access them, obviously, but this room is looking so much better.
The last thing for me to do in here before my contractor finishes up is to remove all of the screws that were stripped so I couldn't use my drill on. You can tighten your chuck around the head of the screw to remove them, but I am looking at 20 or 30 screws and that is a lot of tightening. So instead, I'm just using a Dremel Multimax. This has a metal blade and it should cut through all of these screws so that this floor will be flush, and then when my contractor comes back to lay the next layer of subfloor, we will be good to go, and then I can come in and tile.
Okay, so the Dremel is not working either. It is taking forever.
So here's the chuck trick, and it's just gonna take a while. This is called the chuck of the drill. I'm gonna tighten this around the screw head, and I just don't know if it's high enough off the ground to work. There we go. It's gonna take a while.
I'm just really thankful that this is in a bigger space because this was tedious as well. Everything about this floor has been tedious.
I wanna get you in close so you can see what I'm doing. This is the chuck of the drill, and what I'm doing is I am tightening it around the screw. So you see how this part is coming in? So I tighten that around the screw head, and then I can just back out my drill and it pulls the screw out. Some of the screws aren't sticking out high enough for this chuck to grab hold, and that's when I have to use my Dremel.
The chuck did grab the screw in many situations and I was able to remove it, but it was fussy, and then there were still some that didn't work, so I had to use my Dremel, and that took a while also. Okay, 30 out of 10 do not recommend. That is so tedious, but all the screws are out. And that means that when my contractor comes back with the top layer of plywood, he is all smooth and ready to go. He will screw that plywood in place, and then I can come back with a concrete backer board and lay tile, and we are one step closer to finishing up this space. I mean, I guess we have to drywall and prep the walls and paint, but it's better.
The reality of this house flip is that there are some weeks where more gets done. My kids are now home for the summer, so finding a chunk of time where I can come and work over here has been a little bit more challenging. I have an hour here and there. I have to get home and do a camp pickup, so unfortunately I can't do any more work in the bathroom. I'm gonna turn it over to my contractor. Next week I have some plans for the outside. My friend Sam is coming to town and we are working on a patio. That is going to be hopefully not super hard, but labor intensive, if that makes any sense. But again, these are famous last words. Have I ever put in a patio? No, I have not. So we will just have to wait and see. But thank you for joining me for the first phase of this bathroom demo. I really think that this was a good option given the funny space that we have. If I step backwards into this little room here, you can see that it is still a totally sweet, usable space. And that's what I wanted. I love that little room at the end of the hall. Here's the bathroom again. We've got a little more work to do, but we are getting there. Demo is complete. Thanks everyone. Have a great day. Tune in next week. Who knows what I'll get done by then.